Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 185 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show and podcast. I am your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, back for another season. And joining me today, I feel like I've gone back in time. My usual suspects of Scott, the voice of the people, Williams, and I don't know what do you ever have a nickname, Tom? Tom Hughes is with us.
I'm useless at FPL Hughes or something like that.
I think should we get Baz to make you a badge? I think
Yeah,
he'd
that's
love,
very
he'd
fair.
love that. Tom, it's love to have you back. How are you?
Very good. Yeah. It does feel like I've gone back in time years coming on to this. It's like doing it again for the first time. No, it's good to be here.
Lovely to have you. And Scott, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Enjoyed the break, but good to be back chatting footy.
If anybody is tuning into this expecting us to talk about Fantasy Premier League, turn off. Just turn off now. Just don't bother. We're not going to talk about FPL. We're going to talk about the fallout from the World Cup, and we're going to talk probably a little bit about the Premier League, depending on how much time we've got left. But this is basically our World Cup review show, so we'll talk all about football. The FPL content will start very shortly when Barry is back off his holidays, and he's got many graphics. So don't you worry, everybody. We will be back. So don't forget to follow us social media platforms, All of Football Pod, All of Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Do not forget to also like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, share it with your pals, and give us 5 stars where you get your podcast from. Share it with everybody. Share, 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 share. Um, Same again. More disappointment. A semi-final defeat. I'm going to start here, Tom. I'm going to start with you first. 7 straight defeats to teams ranked in the top 10 pre-tournament for England at World Cups. Is this a mentality problem? Is this an England problem? Or was it a one-off game problem with Tommy Tuchel? Where do you stand on it for starters?
I don't know. That's a weird stat, right? Because losing to teams ranked in those positions is no shame, right? It's like you're losing to good teams, but the fact that we can't seem to overcome any of them, I've said this a whole tournament. There's something in the mentality. It comes all the way through from the fans, all the way through to the staff, all the way through to the players. It clearly, like, there's a mentality in England which we just can't overcome. It's not that we don't have the players to do it, and so it can't come down to that. We've had good managers in charge of us, and it can't come down to that. So I think a lot of it's mentality, and it's, particularly in those big games, do those players really believe that we can go out and win those games? Sometimes it appears not, but equally, it's no shame losing to teams in those positions, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into the actual real specifics of the moments within the game shortly, but same sort of question to you, Scott. Is that something that you've sort of a stat, or just basically the fact we haven't won a World Cup in 60 years or a major trophy in 60 years? Never mind who we've lost to in these games. Really, the biggest worry.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to win a World Cup. We're just talking a World Cup. I think if we're looking at our average world ranking over the years, a number of World Cups we've probably won about average that we could have won. There's not been that many, but I agree and disagree with what Tom says. There's certainly a mentality switch. I won't go too much into the game because I know you said we'll touch on it now, but it does but what I found the hardest to stomach was what we did against Mexico. We clearly have mentality. We've clearly got the will to go into a hostile situation with backs against the walls and come out fighting. When everything was against us, down to 10 men, the crowd, the ref, the humidity, literally everything going against us, and we put on a performance like that. And then it's like, okay, well, mentality side of it, we seem like we're okay now. We've had all the penalties and lived over that hoodoo with Southgate, etc. And then we just seem to regress in that last 15, 20 minutes. And there's clearly a few of the players, mainly the managers, gone, oh my God, we're a quarter of a game away from a World Cup final. And just regressed a little bit, which was most frustrating because Mexico clearly showed us that we've got the bottle to do it.
It's a really good segue into what I wanted to get to next, which was basically to talk about the tournament up until the Argentina game, or maybe the 55th minute of the Argentina game. Um, because arguably, other than basically being a little bit um, blunt against Ghana, it was a really good tournament, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I thought some of the performances flattered to deceive overall. Like I think generally, the Croatia game, everybody thought we were absolutely. It was a very open game, right? And some of the defending in that was pretty poor, but we
Awful.
played well. Yeah, we played well in that game. So yeah, it was a good tournament. I think, like Scott said, it's hard to win a World Cup. Only one team can win it. You have to be the best in the world to win the World Cup. There's no arguing there. So getting to these places deep into the tournaments, there's no real shame in that. It's just how do they now take that next step. But no, I thought we were good. I think when you look at that team, there was holes that you could see before the tournament started in the squad, which were then exposed throughout the course of the tournament. And I think there was a lot of discussion about Tuchel's squad selection before the tournament. And even when Livramento got injured and he brings in Shalabar and stuff like that, it's just strange decisions like that, which, he had people like Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw to call on who are clearly good characters and good team players, and he chose not to include them. And there's just strange decisions like that, which I think maybe ultimately hurt Tuchel when it got round to that semi final. He didn't really have that strength all the way through that 11.
Yeah, we got through the group and then we had a scare against Congo, but ultimately the quality of Kane showed through in that sort of game to get those couple of goals. But
Yeah,
getting to that Mexico game, I mean, I just will never forget that night. I
no,
think that was the greatest England game I've ever watched in my life, and there's a number of reasons for that outside of the fact that it was just an amazing game with everything against us. It was probably the fact it was at 2 a.m. and it was delayed by an hour, and I was with you boys having a all nighter like I was in uni again. Like just it was that everything about that made me just feel like yes, and that high of the elation to then come down to sort of like the way we lost the Argentina game, I think was I found it so difficult to take.
but I
Uh,
suppose what I would say on that is if you think about the build up to those two games, everyone had almost written us off against Mexico. We had, I think, as a group, had written us off against Mexico, not because we weren't good enough to beat them, but because there was all the pre-game talk about temperature, about climate, about the atmosphere in the Azteca. Could England handle these situations? So it was almost like we came in as an underdog in that game. I don't think we so much were in the Argentina game, and I don't know whether that potentially impacted it. And clearly, there's a problem when we go ahead in really critical late stage games that
yeah,
even Harry Kane himself said in his post match interview. I could sense that as a group, we almost he said we could sense we were about to do something amazing. We're about to get to a World Cup final because we've scored a goal and we're currently winning the game. So as it stands, we are in the World Cup final. And it's almost like that feeling. They suddenly then have something to protect, which is why they then drop off a bit.
well, I think the stat is I think we've lost the equal most amount of games in World Cup knockout history from being a goal ahead. Like we are, I think it's with a couple with equal with a couple of teams. I think it's 4 times we've gone ahead in World Cup knockout games and lost.
Yeah,
Um, and that again, that's pretty obviously an issue. Again, when we're going to get to DNA mentality decisions at the time, and we'll get into that. I'm going to just run through the timeline of the game a little bit more, and I won't go through it in loads of detail, but just to give a heads up of it. So basically, really tight first half, like the lowest XG in a game in like basically in the World Cup. This World Cup, it was really low. But very equal 45-55 possession just in Argentina's favour. And then we scored after 55 minutes, and 64th minute, they made a substitution. It was about 70-30 in terms of possession up until the 72nd minute. And from that point for the rest of the game, we only had about 8 or 9% possession. the statistic that goes around is we had 12% possession since we scored the goal, but actually it wasn't exactly apportioned that way. 72nd minute, we brought Conser on for Gordon, and they made 3 changes. They made another change after 81 minutes. We then brought Byrne and O'Reilly on for James and Rice after the 82nd minute. We concede after 85, we concede after 92, and then it takes us to the 96th minute to bring Rashford on for Spence. In terms of that timeline of the game, Scott, where do you think it went wrong? What was your feeling at the time? Did you feel like that constant substitution was, as Tuchel sort of described, trying to help the team as they were going backwards, or what was your take on it? And do you think it was a mistake?
It went wrong when we went 1-0 up. Simple as that. Like, we were the better. I know that first half was shoddy. What I will say about that first half, I know it was poor. There was no XG, but we showed what we were made of in that first half. Argentinians came out to kick us. I can't remember who we had the friendly beforehand, but they were kicking us in that friendly, and that set us up really well for this game. I said in that friendly, I went, look, we're going to come up against the team that's going to do this, and Argentina did this. Look, the scumbags, we all hate Argentina. They've really gone down in my estimation. I'm so happy they didn't win it. But we didn't back down. The ref was obviously, it felt like he was massively biased. Some of the yellow cards we got, and somehow they didn't get yellow cards. So I thought, first half we showed what we were made of. Second half came out, we were the better team. They didn't fancy the game at all. They clearly knew that we were the favourites. We scared them. We had the pace to really attack them. Obviously, score a really, really good goal to go 1-0 up, and then we've got both of their defenders on yellow cards. One of them being an absolute nutcase in Romero. I tell you now, I could have got him sent off. Like, I'm a bit of a wind up. I've been a wind up in my life playing fives before. It wouldn't have been hard to get him sent off. Like, but what we do is we then retreat. We take some of our pace off, and you've got them playing a high line with 2 defenders on a yellow card. It's simple. Get it over the top. Get Rashford on. Get some pace, and just attack it. Win the game that way. When we went when did we go 1-0 up? 65th.
55.
Yeah, 55 with a hydration break. With all the breaks, we know that game's going to 100 minutes. We're nowhere near the end of that game. We're like, there's 3/4 of the second half left to go. So yeah, the substitutions were mind-boggling, to say the least. And I think when the Argentina players looked across, sorry, I'm getting a bit of feedback there.
A bit of feedback on Tommy.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, man.
So I think when the Argentinian players would have seen the substitution, that probably gave them a boost. And as soon as we kept saying, as soon as the quality of balls going in the box, yes, we could defend it against Mexico, but Argentina are a couple of levels above Mexico. Those quality balls, like, it's a matter of time, and there was only, unless we did something different, there was only going to be one winner. And when we were all watching, I think we all were in agreement. Potentially even at 1-0, certainly at 1-1, that game was never going to extra time. Argentina were going to win the game, and it was just really disheartening because we clearly could go for it. I blame Thomas Tuchel only for that. I know the players have a certain responsibility to take, but he was the one that made the decisions. He was the one that made the substitutions. He's paid the most in the world to manage a national football team, and in the big moment, I'm sorry, he bottled it. And for that, I think he's so lucky to still be in the job.
Tom, I want to come to you on that one because, and obviously, I know you've got a take on it from probably the other side of things. Do you think the blame lays sort of solely at the manager's door, or the majority at the manager's door, or do you think it's potentially a players thing and a mentality thing and maybe a leadership thing on the pitch?
I think the game didn't go wrong when the substitutions happened. I think Thomas Tuchel could have done more to affect it. And I think what England fans are generally annoyed about is we've had years of Southgate being quite negative and pragmatic, which he felt was the best way to win a tournament. And so they wanted Tuchel to show the opposite in those situations. So I get why people are frustrated, because he did what it felt like Southgate would have done, rather than perhaps putting on some attacking players and trying to get us up the pitch. But I think from the moment we scored the goal, if you go back and watch that game, from the moment we scored the goal, that game changed. It wasn't like it got to the hydration break and Tuchel spoke to them and they dropped off. There was this natural drop off, and Kane talked about it himself. I think you could see it in the way the players suddenly, they weren't pressing as high up the pitch. Nobody wanted to be on the ball. It was almost like I say, that mentality changed. And I think Tuchel talked about the fact that at that point he felt like the players were so passive, him putting on an attacking player wouldn't necessarily have done anything, because we wouldn't have got the ball out to them. And even if we did, there would have been no one to support him. So his point was, our best chance of holding on here is just literally that, trying to hold on. He'd almost, and that's the worrying thing, is Tuchel looks like he'd lost confidence in his players to recover from that.
Completely agree with that point.
And we probably need a manager who can get them in. That's particularly with a hydration break, because that's almost like a little mini half time, to get those players in and say, guys, you need to snap out of this. You've gone from playing, like Scott said, we were that first 10 minutes of the second half, we were really good, really good. And then to go from being really good to having absolutely none of the ball, that's, Tuchel didn't change the instructions. The players have said that. There was no instructional change at that point. And I know a lot of the players came out afterwards and criticised the substitutions and the decisions that were made later in the game. And I get that, but I think it's not fair to say maybe that it's Tuchel's fault solely. I think the players and the mentality around the England national team, clearly, it was the same with Southgate. When we scored first against Italy in the Euros, we didn't have a look in the rest of that game. We just sat behind the ball, and it's almost inevitable. It felt the same in the Argentina game. It was inevitable that they were going to score eventually.
Does it feel like a squad confidence thing? So basically, because I felt this way obviously when we were playing France and he didn't bring on Rashford early enough. When we were in the Italy game and he didn't make that substitution to bring on that midfielder sooner enough. And we were in all of those games, us three have all sat together and gone, make the change, like we can see it on the screen. And does he not have the confidence in the players then, Scott? Or is that the sort of thing where, I got basically rinsed by our friend Cully when I said to bring on Kobe Mainu at that moment. And I fully backed that. We needed that midfielder to hold the ball and that more technical player. That more technical player we had maybe to link up and get us out was then not even used. And then he didn't pick Palmer or Foden, the more technical player. Like, did he then look at his bench and just not believe in Madueke and Rashford or Saka?
I think it's a tough one, because if he brought those players on and we didn't win, there'll be another narrative probably somewhere where it's gone, why didn't we try and shore it up a little bit and go against? So I get that.
I agree with that. I think I know what you're saying there, but also look how we went out against France under Southgate.
I think he balled it. But I'm saying there's always going to be another narrative. So I think,
I don't think he could lose. I don't think he could lose. I think if he went for I genuinely don't believe that narrative would be 10% as damning as this current one that we've got.
It wouldn't have been. And you just go for it. You notice that the two centre backs are on yellow cards. You notice that, and then when we go back, I agree with what Tom said when he said straight away it happened. But I blame Tuchel, because there was 10 minutes later there was a hydration break. That was his moment to sort it out and go, right, get your heads back on. You've got the bollocks. You've shown that in Mexico. Get it on. I'm going to get a bit more pace on. Look, there's two centre backs on yellow cards. Run at them. Just want you to run at them. Commit to them. Be a bit of an S-house at them.
That is the bit I absolutely agree with. That's why the change had already happened, and Tuchel is absolutely being brought in to make those positive impacts and try it. It was his job to do that. So I'm not saying he's blameless at all. Obviously he has to shoulder blame. And I think what you're saying about the other narrative, Scott, is absolutely true. There would have been another narrative. it wouldn't have been as harsh because that's what I'm saying is I think for the last 10 years we've watched quite a conservative England approach. So at least people would have been, watching that last 40 minutes, I mean, it was depressing because it was just like, it was like watching your own funeral or something like that. You could see it coming. It was just like, it was the most obvious thing in the world. And
It's
all
like
the
watching a
teams,
bus coming towards you about to hit you, and you just like, why
yeah.
can't we move out the
And
way?
and then to see, I mean, everybody could see we needed more of the ball, not less of it. So you take off players that can retain the ball and bring on players that can't. It all just, and I get all of that. It's like, it's a high pressure situation. We could be sat here in another time, and the Mexico game, we've held on, and we're in the World Cup final. But we wouldn't have won that game. Not that team that we saw from 55 minutes onwards wouldn't have beaten Spain. So yeah, it's annoying, but
I think
yeah,
just excellent. We would have beat Spain.
No, just two things from me there. I think number one, like it's still I find it annoying when people say, "Oh, do you know what? Look, we should have brought Palmer." No, we shouldn't. He was terrible last season. We shouldn't have brought Palmer. Like he's there, he should have been left at home. We had enough quality in that squad, and that's not where the mistakes were made in the squad selection. Yes, I agree that there's other areas where we should have had more depth. And secondly, I know we can all sit here and say would have got beaten by Spain. Spain scraped it against Argentina in the final, an Argentina team we should have beaten. Um, Spain didn't blow too many teams away in this World Cup. Yes, they were the best team, and defensively they were fantastic. But all it would have taken was an odd goal here and there, or dare I say it, maybe taking it to penalties. I feel like like the year before when Argentina was just doing an aura thing with Messi and France were unreal. We're not beating any of those two teams in the final for me for those two reasons. I think on our day we could have beaten that Spain team. I don't think it was cut and dry, and that's also what made it super frustrating for me.
We'll find out when we're playing in the Nations League, won't we, in September? I do think that Spain performance against France in the semi-final was one of the most complete football performances I've ever seen from a team in a massive match. They just completely took apart one of the best teams out there and beat them 2-0 comfortably. And to be fair to Spain in that final, I mean, I watched the final. Argentina never looked like they were going to score in that game. It was just about when were Spain going to score, and then when it went to extra time, it was are they going to score? And then they got eventually. I mean, they got one goal ruled out for a reason.
Argentina didn't like scoring against us until we took the lead.
I agree with that. I agree with that point. So on the squad selection stuff, I never agreed with the selection of Madueke. I never actually agreed with the selection of Eze. I would have, but then you have a player like Eze in the squad. The people said he didn't select technical players, so I was kind of getting to that point with the Mainu. He didn't select technical players. Well, Eze and Mainu are technical players, so I never really agreed with that point that he didn't have those players to be able to bring on. But I just felt like after Eze's performance against Norway, he didn't actually ever really believe in him again. He selected Mainu and then never played him. And he made
That's
some
a good point, actually. Tuchel said that England don't have like this ball possession mentality, as if like every single English player can't maintain the ball. And all the players you've just talked about play in squads which are built on ball retention. So it's like that's nonsensical from Tuchel. I have to say that doesn't make sense. You have to find a way of instilling the confidence to retain the ball.
Yeah, and then the defense that he picked, the fact that then he didn't pick Maguire over someone potentially like Chalobah to put in that team or Quansah, which I still never really understood the pick about. So then, if he was then going to then defend the way he was defending against Argentina, I mean, if there's one man I want in that penalty area, it's Harry Maguire. For when those crosses are coming in. Yeah, Dan Burn, of course, has done really well he did incredible against Mexico, didn't he? What a performance. But I want Maguire in there instead of Ezri Konsa. I just, yeah, he got a few things wrong. And I think overall, I was sat there going, at that hydration break, I totally agree with the point that Scott and yourself are making, really, Tom. he was brought in for that last 15, 20 minutes to make that difference that Southgate hadn't made. And he didn't make that difference. And in my personal opinion, he failed for that reason. And you know what it's like. At the end of the day, it always hangs on the manager, doesn't it? And I know that we've got all the players, and maybe it's a mentality. I get it all, but yeah, I do think we're probably sat here at the end of the day thinking more about the manager.
The only thing I'd say on Tuchel, and I think why I'm happy they've given him a second chance, is I did like how he navigated the tournament up until that moment. And I think he's the kind of manager that will learn from that. Or I don't think he'll make that same mistake again. I think in the Euros in 2 years' time, if we find ourselves in a similar game, I do not think Tuchel will do the same things. And I think the problem with Southgate was he did seem to just think eventually this strategy will work. I don't think Tuchel will do the same thing again. That's just my view on it. So
Yeah,
he's been deep in tournaments before Tuchel, but never in an international one, and that was his first experience of it. And who knows? He's a big manager. The pressure might have got to him. He might have felt the pressure, and he might have made those decisions based on that. So I'm willing to see him in another tournament. It's a big one, right? But who else do you get in with 2 years to go to a domestic Euros to lead the national team?
I know you said the pressure got to him, Tom, but it shouldn't have got to him. Not on the amount of money he's on. The pressure will get to us.
Yeah.
The pressure would get to like mid managers, but
I think
that's what he's paid the big bucks for. Them moments.
And he was also brought in because he was supposed to almost have that disassociation with the pressure of the moment because he's German.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm speculating that the pressure got to him. He got the decisions wrong. Why he got them wrong, we'll never know. But I guess what I'm saying is he doesn't strike. Winners find a way of winning. So Tuchel will have learned from that, and I like to think he will make a different decision. I think if he got that same situation again, I'm not even sure he'd make the same decisions now. And even just from a reactionary standpoint, he would feel better having gone out on the attack. I just feel like Southgate had several tournaments where when we got to those big moments, it was similar things. When we took leads, Croatia, really, like we did drop off. It's happened again. I like to think Tuchel will have over the next 2 years will find a way of overcoming that. That's what I think. And also, I would go back to Spain have been unbelievably successful since 2008, but it started with a Euros win. And I just feel like this Euros coming up in 2 years, if we're ever going to win something, England at the moment, this is the one. And if we can win that, I genuinely believe we can go to 2030 and have a really good shot at it again. At least get deep and potentially make the final for the first time.
Or we can do. I know you said they have been successful. If you think, look how many trophies they've won, but they also had like 8 years where they were horrific and went out in like the first knockout range. So we could also do that. By the way, it's been a while.
Yeah, and we've been very blessed, haven't we? How far we've got in tournaments. Yeah, we've been. And talk about winners winning. I mean, Messi, 34 games in a World Cup, 33 goal contributions, 21 goals and 12 assists. I mean, like
Snitch.
Just
snitch, though, isn't he?
Yeah, well, cannot stand anything to do with Argentina. Being in Spain for the World Cup final was lovely, but it also made me incredibly. It made me feel a little bit sick that it could have been us watching them all celebrate. It was a little bit tough to take, but overall, lads, then enjoy the World Cup generally. Tom?
Oh, it was great, wasn't it? The one thing I'll say is we keep getting close, and it keeps that hope alive throughout the tournament. I think a couple of really good moments. The Croatia game and the Mexico game in particular stand out to me as really great games that I'll remember for a long time. So.
Everyone, no, not really feeling this World Cup, not really into it yet. Or people bore me because it's every single World Cup. People go, "Oh, I'm not really feeling it yet," and then we get a couple of games in, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, the World Cup's back." Don't get me wrong, the kickoff times were a little bit frustrating, but England is the centre of the world, right? So we should be able to watch every match every time. But I love the World Cup. I don't think there's been a tournament I've not loved really.
And also, this will be remembered as a World Cup where all the big players kind of turned up, and there was a golden boot race with names on it that you would expect. It doesn't always work like that, but it did this time. And seeing like Haaland and Messi and Mbappe and even Kane, getting Bellingham, getting big numbers, those were all, that was quite exciting, and it made it quite unique, I thought, as well.
Scott, you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I'm not a fan of multi-country World Cup hosting. I think it takes a lot away from it. I'd rather it have been a Mexico or a Canada, dare I say, even just the USA. I think it really does taint it. And again, obviously, the next World Cup is the same. A bit closer to home though, which would be nice. But yeah, I did. I enjoyed the football. I hated the hydration breaks like everyone else. I think that really not ruined, but really tainted a lot of games. So I'm hoping. Well, we're one step closer to Baldy leaving, so hopefully that'll go when he goes. I'm all, by the way, all for hydration breaks when it's over a certain temperature. Fine, we all know they're there for ad breaks. I hated the whole commercial element. I hated the games in America, but I thought the football was great. There was hardly any nil-nils. I thought a lot of the knockout games delivered. Like you said, the big players turned up, and we got another sweat. So yeah, it was good.
I'll be honest. I think I'm definitely in the minority here, but the hydration break quite genuinely didn't even bother me. I actually didn't mind.
When you say you're in the minority, you might be the only football fan that thinks.
Yeah.
Genuinely, it didn't bother me. And sometimes some of the tactical things that happened after those moments in the games. I mean, if you think about the amount of games that changed like on after the hydration breaks, it's just having the opportunity to talk to the manager and get some tactic stuff in there. I genuinely didn't mind it, and I know I'm in the minority. Sorry, everyone, but didn't bother me at all.
I could go into a lot of points there to tell you why there shouldn't have been hydration breaks unless it was a safety thing. Consistency, the rest of the World Cup qualifying wasn't played with hydration breaks.
But that's when they had to do it throughout in every game of the World Cup, though, didn't they? That's why they couldn't do it when Scott talks about temperature and safety. You had to do it in every game, though, didn't you?
But it should have then been in every qualifying game.
Well, there's that sort of debate. Hello, Scout. Oh, is that Liberty or Sky, Scott? It's Liberty, isn't it? We've got some Paw Patrol.
Liberty. You shouting Alex?
Hello, Scout. Hello. Pardon?
Please. She wants to go to your house, please.
Of course you can. Absolutely. We're definitely setting up another play date. We've got some new Paw Patrols to play with.
New Paw Patrols to play with?
Which Paw Patrol?
We've got Tracker, we've got Everest, we've got the lot. We've got loads. Roman got loads for his birthday.
Loads of them.
Like
Okay, we can do. Say bye, Tom as well. Say bye, Tom. Say bye, Tom.
Roman was playing with Rubble today. Absolutely loved it. Got a little game for us with 5 minutes to go though, this is now to do with the Premier League because we've had some big transfers happen so far this year. We've had two of the biggest 3 fees ever paid for Premier League footballers. So Morgan Rogers has gone for 138 million euros. And Anderson another 135 million euros. Obviously, I'm talking in euros because I've obviously got a list on transfer market.
I was wondering why he was going euros.
So, see you, mate. So we've got top transfers. I'm trying to get this up, but my screen's not letting me. There we go. These are the ones so far this transfer window. I'm going to run through top 10, and I want you to tell me if you think, and this is of all time, if you think these big transfers have been a success, sit on the fence, or a flop. Are you ready? Just one word from both of you. I'm going to go with Tom first every time, just for ease. Isak. Success, middle road, flop.
Oh, can I give either? I'd say middle then.
Middle. Scott?
No, flop.
Middle, flop. Florian Wirtz. Tom first every time.
Middle. I think I'm being generous because they've not had enough time, but I'm going middle.
Scott?
Flop. I'm just going as of now.
Enzo Fernandez.
Middle.
Scott?
Middle.
Yeah, I think he's probably borderline, isn't he? Jack Grealish.
A flop.
Scott?
Flop. I think it's close to the middle though. He did a lot in that that treble season.
He had one very good season, then flop after. I agree with that. That's fair, but I like it, not sitting on the fence. Declan Rice.
Success.
Success.
Yeah, definitely a success. Can't say that. He won the league. Caicedo.
Flop.
Scott?
Flop, but could he stays fit, easy going to be a success.
Yeah, I'd probably put him middle for that. Lukaku, the Man United one.
Oh, flop.
Flop.
Maybe the biggest one.
Flop. Pogba.
Flop.
Flop. Ridiculous. Sold him for free, got him back. Flop.
Yeah. Kai Havertz when they bought him for Chelsea.
Middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle, yeah.
I'd agree with middle. He scored the winning Champions League final, didn't he? And finally, Hugo Ekitike.
I'm going to say flop because I feel like I was generous on
I thought flop is a
middle.
Middle.
It's shown really good signs last season.
So I know we've got a bit of shortage on time here. So we've only got out of the top 10 transfers outside of this transfer window, only one of them has been described as a success. Why is it that big money transfers don't guarantee success? We're not going to answer that question, but what I'm going to ask you is about the top 5 on here. Ignore Anthony Gordon because he's gone away. Do you think Morgan Rogers will be a success or a flop? Starting with Scott.
Success.
Tom.
Relative to his price, a flop.
Anderson.
Success.
Relative to his price, a flop.
Finale.
Flop.
Yeah, flop.
Matheus Fernandes.
Look at that age. Success.
Yeah.
I think middle. I don't think he'll do badly there.
I agree, middle. And Jeremy Jacquet. Who knows?
Young, innit? Let's go success. Let's go with a chance.
I like it. Yeah.
He's also the cheapest on that list, so let's say success. Because I'm basing it relative on the price. So.
I like
Yeah,
it.
but
Right, lad.
I think really quickly, look at the ages of them. A lot of them have got chances to be successes.
Yeah, they're a lot younger, aren't they? We're spending large amounts on being younger. Right, lads, thanks for joining us. Got to wrap it up. Tom, thank you. Scott, thank you so much. It's been a lovely time.
By the way, I was over England. Now you've really depressed me back into the England now. Cheers for that.
Sorry, mate. Don't forget to follow the social media platforms, Orville Pod, Orville P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And like the video, subscribe to your channel and share it with your pals. Goodbye from me. Goodbye, everyone.